thank you for allowing me to serve you. Congratulations. Thank you for stepping up for your service.
Thank you.
Here we go.
One of the wonderful things is the peaceful transfer of power. But if you recall, this is not Jeff's first rodeo as the chair of the commission. Jeff was actually chair of the NIRPC commission at the time I was hired. So I'm a little biased in thanking him for his service. But he actually gets a second one of these plaques for his service, which, as I always like to point out, is actually a real detachable gavel. It's a little smaller than that one, but it will still work. So you can use this when you need something in any home situation. I don't know if that's right.
Do I get a second again?
Sure.
So I look like a cat. Thank you very much. That's great. Yours.
My turn.
Your
I did
turn.
it one time? Wow, that wasn't hard. Yeah. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and continue with the meeting. And first that I have to do in your packet, there is a schedule of the meetings for this year. So everybody can take a look at that so they're aware of when the meetings will be conducted. Next, Mary will be sending out an email on committees. So within the next couple weeks, if everybody can take a look at that and choose two and let us know, so then we can have that all settled at the February meeting. Okay,
Great. Thank you very much. And congratulations again.
thank you.
First of all, I want to welcome the new commissioners that we have at the table. Welcome aboard to NIRPC. We have a few more that we haven't quite received the appointment letters for yet, so we'll have some new faces as well. For those that are here that are new, we left packets of material at your place, so you've got some great bedside reading to give you an overview of what NIRPC is and what we do. So enjoy that. Congratulations. I know that's why you came onto this commission, was to receive that package, so enjoy that. Charlie was saying earlier he's very thankful not to have to be driving down to Indianapolis. This is a little bit closer than going downstate to the legislature, so welcome. And welcome from Franklin as well. Quick note, I just wanted to point out the dates that were given for the commission dates. These are slightly different than the past hours, either November or December. So just to make note that these have been slightly revised based on the approvals that we need over the course of the year. So if you did happen to write those into your calendar, this is the latest and greatest, so you'll need to make those adjustments. And thank you again all for being here and establishing a forum so that we can conduct assemblies on the agenda that we need for commission. You'll be receiving a year in review within the next 1 or 2 weeks, so watch your inbox for that, for all the things that NIRPC accomplished over the course of time here. So look for that, and that will be especially good for our new commissioners to see the kind of things that NIRPC is involved in. A lot of what we do is driven by federal funding, and I know a lot of the questions on people's minds probably is what effect the government shutdown has on our operations. So I thought I'd give just a quick summary of at least what we're anticipating, what we're looking at. First of all, as I think you know, most of our work is funded through federal highway funds. And that is funded, that's not taken from appropriations, annual appropriations, that's from the Highway Trust Fund. So the majority of what we do in that realm through federal highway is actually not affected by the shutdown. So that's the good news piece. The areas, I'm going to say bad news. It's not bad news yet, but the areas that do impact us have to do with our work with the Federal Transit Administration, the Economic Development Administration, and the Environmental Protection Agency. So as you know, those folks are in furlough with the shutdown. And so we cannot do drawdowns from FTA funds, federal transit funds. So far we are okay, but we are a little bit of concern of the buses we have ordered that we'll have problems paying for if those buses are delivered. Eventually may affect operators, transit operators, and that funding, if this continues much longer. There are things in place for reserve, and I think that's a message I need to say just if anybody happens to be watching our live stream or anybody who relies on transit. There are processes in place for reduction in service, and so nobody's going to suddenly wake up the next morning and not have bus service. There will be processes for that the operators will have to go through to be able to give notice if that's going to happen, based on what they project if this continues a lot longer. But it is of a concern. For the Economic Development Administration, we're not a designated economic development district yet, but we submitted all those materials before the end of the year, everything they requested to finalize that process, and they promised to review it right after the holidays are over, and they haven't been back to work since. So our submission materials are stuck at the Economic Development Administration until they're able to get back to work and review that. And finally, with the Environmental Protection Agency, the two main areas of that we deal with EPA that have some concern is anything really related to air quality reviews, things like mitigation, congestion mitigation, and air quality program, things that have to have reviews of impact on overall air quality in the region, and also some things related to brownfields assessments related to the EPA. So those are the areas that, again, are not in crisis mode yet, but just wanted to put on the radar screen that this could affect things in the region that we do going forward. So we'll, of course, hope for the best. I know everybody is trying to encourage a resolution to this and for the government to get back to work, but I just wanted you to be aware of where those things are at. There is some funding, though, available that's not dependent on federal sources, and you have at your table a handout for the Quick Impact Place-Based Grant, which was just announced. I think applications are due in March. This is through the Office of Community and Rural Affairs of the state. Between $2,500 and $5,000, I believe the city of Highland received a $5,000 grant for this last year. It's a quick and easy grant opportunity to be able to make downtown improvements, and I'd encourage your communities, no matter how big or small, to take a look at that as it just became available. I don't believe it requires specific grant administration. But on that grant administration note, Gabrielle, I think Gabrielle's here, Gabrielle Bachinas. Yeah, Gabrielle just went through the grant administration training, and I'm happy to say passed with flying colors, like got a super score through Okra, so congratulations. Yeah, very well. How long total exam? I don't remember how, it was a very long exam.
There were 2 exams, and it took a couple weeks.
Yeah, yeah. So very, very intense, but I'm really grateful for her going through this and achieving this for NIRPC, because this means that we now have the ability, we have a certified grant administrator now on staff. So we'll have opportunity to have somebody here that can help you with CDBG applications and other programs that require that certification. So this is a new opportunity for you to have some resources. As we develop this program further, we'll keep you further informed, but I just wanted you to be aware that it happened. And really congratulate Gabrielle for taking it on and doing such a good job and passing the exam. So congrats. Quick note too, from I think it was December 17th, we held the Rails Crossing Task Force here in this room. I believe we had around 50 people at that. Very, very good meeting. Appreciate Mayor Tom's leadership in bringing that together, and in fact, if he wants to make a few comments, you're welcome to. I just wanted to say about that, we had a wide range of folks from communities, as well as some folks that have been involved in the railroad industry, as well as people from police departments that were able to talk about the impacts of, again, this goes back to the Indiana Supreme Court rule that was struck down that no longer allows communities to ticket trains for blocking an intersection. It used to be for 10 minutes or more you could issue a citation, and that's been struck down. That's not unique to Indiana. Indiana's actually a little late to that party. That's been struck down all across the nation. So I appreciate Mayor Tom's leadership again in informing that and drawing a spotlight on that issue. The main takeaways from our research and what we've looked into that is really this has to happen on the federal level, something to be able to address the situation. There's very little that can happen at the state, although I understand a bill was just introduced. I haven't looked at it very carefully to see what it's trying to accomplish. I think that just happened. But we're looking at proceeding to contact the Surface Transportation Board as a way to interact with the railroads to get them to have that conversation. We're very thankful for the local tracks funding that was done, and for those communities, again, congratulations for receiving that. But given the magnitude of the problem, that's kind of a drop in the bucket. But we're very grateful, at least I'm grateful for that, but it's just a small piece of it. We'll also be looking at reauthorization as we start that process for the next transportation bill on the federal level, and whether something could be added to that bill or be spotlighted in that. And we're also collecting information. We sent out through the National Association of Regional Councils, we sent out a request for information from our fellow regional councils around the country for those that have been experiencing these issues and any strategies that they use to try to address this. This can't be unique to Northwestern Indiana, though I think because of the amount of crossings here, it's certainly an epicenter of this issue. So I think that's enough, unless Mayor Tom, if you want to say anything else about the...
Sure, thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody that participated in our first meeting of the training task force. Hammond State Representative Carolyn Jackson, who just started her first day in the General Assembly just a little bit ago, floated a bill that I think NIRPC should support, and I'm going to ask the legislative committee to take a look at it. The House Bill 1090 sort of mirrors what we were doing before. Before, whenever a train would stop in our city, we would ticket the train, give them a $200 fine, and then they would ignore it for years. So what this is doing is, and that was struck down by the Supreme Court as a preemption issue, saying that we didn't have the right to take a train company. It's mandated by federal government. Well, what Ms. Jackson, or Representative Jackson's bill says is that if a train company is going to block a railroad for greater than 10 minutes, that they would get a $200 fine if they did not notify the local municipality that they were blocking the intersection for greater than 10 minutes. Now, it's interesting if this passes, whether or not this will also be struck down as a preemption issue. But in the meantime, I think we should give Ms. Jackson, Representative Jackson, the full support of NIRPC personally. And I'm going to ask the legislative committee to take a look at this issue, because she's trying to help us, and this is a major problem for all of us in Northwest Indiana. And the train task force meets again. I'll get the date during other business, but I think the legislative committee and the NIRPC executive board or the full commission should look into totally support for House Bill 1090 from Representative Jackson. So, thank you.
Thanks very much. Last thing that I wanted to do is a tradition. I forget exactly when this started, but we have the Perfect Attendance Awards to distribute to the NIRPC Commission. I always like to preface this, though, to say, so there's no guilt and shame and condemnation, that those that are not on the executive board, there's certainly no expectation to be at the executive board only meetings if you are on the full commission but not on the executive board. We give this award to those folks that have attended every single full commission and executive board meeting over the course of the year. But if you're not on the executive board, there are really four meetings per year. And we have certain business, like with the budget today, et cetera, that have to have a full commission, so we appreciate you being here. But you should not feel guilt and shame for not receiving this award if you were not at all those meetings and are not on the executive board. So I guess that's really important now.
But those of us on the executive board should feel.
That's exactly what I was saying. Where's taking back what I just said?
Thanks.
Sorry, Greg. Let's see, I don't see Greg's name on this one. So, these are all, actually this is fun to say because this is kind of like a rock group or a law firm. These awards go to Jim, Jeff, Justin, and George. Exactly. So with that, first of all, Mr. Cunningham, down at the end, congratulations yet again. For Jim should get a punch card. Thank you. Mr. Keel, congratulations for your perfect attendance. There's Mr. Cole down there. Congratulations, George. Thank you. And finally, Jeff, as if you didn't have enough handouts to do already.
Thank you very much. The fix is in on this one because I could change the meetings if I wasn't going to make them.
Which is a power you now have.
Yes, thank you.
And with that, I am done unless there's any questions.
All right, well, thank you. Congratulations to all our perfect attendees. Hopefully we'll have a few more here.
Madam Chair, may I make a comment on the train issue? On a rare occasion, when stuck right there at 20 and County Line Road, there is a telephone number up on the crossbar. And on 2 occasions, I took the time, I mean, it was so long, I took the time to call, and they do respond. You know, at least they let you know what the issue is, whether how long, they may not be telling the whole truth, but it was a fact that I was able to get some information as to what the holdup was of the train blocking that intersection for an extended period of time. So that may be good information to get out to the public and to try to compile the calls that we receive or whoever receives in the municipality about people being agitated by having to wait so long for the train to
with the crossing.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I did want to, I know that Mayor Tom referenced the legislative committee, but because of the way that the session runs, and certainly Councilman Brown can attest to this, I think that action by the executive committee or the board would be an action to just indicate that we're willing to support this legislation, because if we wait, we could miss out on it.
So we can go ahead and set a committee up.
Well, I would make the motion that we support the legislation.
I second. Oh, sorry. No, Mr. President, can I comment on that, Madam Chair? I appreciate the Mayor Karen, doing this, and I agree that we don't move very fast sometimes at NIRPC. We have slow meeting dates, and if we wait too long, we may be too late. And quite frankly, I agree with Mayor Freeman Wilson very much on this. This is an important issue. I think when we have legislators that are trying to help us, as we do with Representative Jackson, I think that we should totally support her and let the courts, if they're gonna strike it down, they'll strike it down, but in the meantime, she's trying to help. And this is a major issue. I'm not sure with Councilman Brown. It's a major issue in my community. And there's no phone numbers when they block our crossings. They don't give a crap. So, I mean, maybe you have good experience, Councilman Brown, but we don't in Hammond. And I know a lot of other communities don't, so.
I'll second the comments.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments?
My only comment is, well, I would support, I do think we have a process in place here, and I understand the desire for expediency here, but I don't know, I will say this, that I could vote right now to support a legislation when I have not even looked at or heard anything about this House bill yet.
Right.
And so personally, I would prefer to wait until I have some time to read it, just to make sure that I'm supporting something that in fact does what I would like to see done.
Madam Chair,
So we need to, yes.
I think what Mayor Karen was saying is she wanted it at the next executive meeting, which is about a month from now, which will give us all plenty of time to research this bill, and we can vote on it at the executive meeting. I think that's what Mayor Karen was saying. I don't think she wanted us to vote right now.
That is correct, although I would even add to that if we could get a subcommittee together, even maybe the legislative committee, which already exists, could get together, review it, and so that we could make that recommendation. I just think that, it's something that we need to look at right away.
Madam Chair, I think it would be more advantageous to take a vote on the concept. The General Assembly moves very rapidly. It may not even get a hearing, and that's the issue. It may get caught up in, yes, she has introduced the bill, so it's a matter of us encouraging our fellow board member, Representative Soliday, to throw his support behind it, and to also encourage whatever committee it has been assigned to have, at least have the chairman give the legislation a hearing. So I'm saying conceptually, adopt, today, do that, because that window is not very wide.
Could I suggest perhaps if that motion, I forget exactly how it was worded, but might be structured in such a way as, and I need help with those that are more astute, competent with this, the sense of the commission, so to speak, or something about general spirit behind.
Yes.
I just appreciate the fact that people have seen.
Right. So I would amend the motion in this way to say that the commission conceptually support the bill, the concept of a bill which allows us to take action when trains block railroad crossings in our communities, and to further endorse once we've gone through our process, but at least support the concept and to communicate to Representative Jackson our support of that concept, and to communicate to Representative Soliday our support of the concept and request for a hearing. Because even if you have a hearing, you can, debate the legislation and talk about what you like and what you don't like.
So amend the second.
Madam Chair? And then we'll follow up in about a month after legislative committee, I imagine affirms this, we'll follow up with the executive committee with a formal, hopefully with a formal support of this bill. But I agree, I think Councilman Brown's recommendation is really good to get Representative Soliday aware of the NIRPC behind this. I think that's really important. I appreciate the recommendation.
Okay. We've received the motion, the second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next is Finance and Personnel, Committee reports, and we have our new treasurer. Okay, welcome.
The Finance and Personnel Committee met this morning at 8 a.m. in the Boone Room to review the financial status, reconciliation of expenses, and approve the claims register. We have 2 action items for you today. The first is Resolution 1901, NIRPC's fiscal year 2019 budget. This comes with a favorable recommendation from the Finance and Personnel Committee and came with a favorable recommendation from the Executive Board in November. However, there were some minor changes that were made, and I'll now ask NIRPC staff member Daria Stava to give us the scoop.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so everyone has the additional handout when it says budget 2019, right? Yeah, the copy included in the packet is good, except for the one small part, which is the transit operating project total funds available for our sub-recipients. We changed that yesterday. I actually noticed that we had only 2018 grants included. We didn't include the rollover for the prior years, and so the amount is much higher than original printed in the package. So I'm seeking approval of NIRPC 2019 budget. Expired in 2018, and there is a CMEC air quality education grant, and we still is in process, and at this time I don't know exactly when we get a final approval from INDAT. Could be second quarter or mid-year 2019, and I would like you to have your approval to do the amendment to the budget mid-year, because if we get the $400,000, I will have to, there has to be amendment to revenues and expenses as well. Our salary expense for 2019 is $450,957, which is less 7% as last year. We eliminated a couple positions due to the grant not being available, and the director of transportation decided to eliminate one planner position. So our first next category is fringe benefits, and we budgeted for $639,438, which is 3% less than prior year. It's related to the lower salary expense budgeted for 2019. Occupancy, they are based on increase 4% based on contracts and leases contracts, that there's certain increase every year. Equipment and service, equipment service and maintenance, it's only it's at $68,648. It's a slight increase from the prior year due to higher computer services cost. Departmental, they are less 23% versus prior year. The difference is mainly in environmental promotions. This is related to the grant. We're still waiting for the approval, so we cannot spend any money. We cannot plan to spend any funds at this time. Contractuals less 85% versus prior year. We lost, one grant expired and we still don't have the CMAC approval. That's why the environmental contracts, they are almost $300,000 less than budgeted for prior year. Last expense is our furniture and equipment. We are budgeted $64,200 for fiscal year 2019. We are planning on buying a new sound system. Also, we might have to spend money on security system and new IT equipment. This is budgeted from the old grant, federal FDA grant from 2016. So our between revenue and expenses, our variance is zero. So our budget is balanced. On page number 4, I provide you with a breakdown of our revenue sources, including the type of grants or payers, and for total amount of $2,206,119. Page 5, they are projects for our subrecipients. Actually, this is capital projects. Then they were approved, and the grants are still active from 2016 and 17, but the subrecipient haven't purchased those items yet. Page number 6 includes new capital assets requests from our subrecipients, and the grants were approved in 2018, and each project has its description. The total federal funds approved for 2018 for our subrecipients for capital projects $102,174. Page 7 is a total available for our subrecipients for the transit operating expenses, and the total federal share available for 2019 is $4,485,952. Last but not least is our revolving loan available funds of $85,000. The last page, number 9, is our budget using revolving loan funds for our administrative costs, because everything we were covering from local funds, but according to the agreement, we are able to use 50% of the interest income we receive from the borrowers, and plus we use the closing charges. The budget is of $6,862. Mostly, I would like to cover our chief accountant and chief of staff salary expense for the review of the documentation and attending closings and so forth.
Okay, thank you. As mentioned earlier, this comes with a favorable recommendation from the Finance and Personnel Committee.
I have a question. There was a thing passed out, which is the current information in the NIRPC package. The figures are different.
Yeah, one figure is different, only this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. That's what I found last night, and I will change it and provide that as separate.
I saw some people looking at the packet, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew you had a supplemental that was presented to us this morning.
I would like to make a motion to approve the 2019 budget as presented.
Second.
Are there any other questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
The second action item this morning is the new 3-year Executive Director's Contract and Compensation, which is available for viewing on pages 15 through 20. Daria Stavo will give a presentation on what that includes. if there's anything else you'd like to add.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed, can you repeat?
Executive Director's contract.
Oh, executive director contract. Well, it was approved by executive board during the November 15 meeting. The increase is 4%, which is within the average of what all some employee of NIRPC received, not many. So, and it's the term of the contract is for the next 3 years, starting on January 1st this year. And we are seeking approval of the full commission of the contract.
And I make I was part of the committee to negotiate the contract with Dave Hollenbeck, and there's a few things. So Ty's contract still has a year. This will supersede that contract. It makes it a 3-year contract and that renews automatically unless any of us don't want it to. And those are the big changes plus the 4%. So those are the, and that's why he's here today without a contract, is his other contract carried him through this, so.
Madam Chair.
So,
Is there, I noticed in the budget that there was reductions in most areas, maybe spending less money. Is that any correlation between that and the executive director having a new contract? That the recommendation was that we spend less money?
No, that's not. That's not. We're spending less money because some our grants expired.
That was supposed to be lighthearted.
give me a flag that says joke. I would like to move that we approve the new executive director's contract and compensation as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any other questions, discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Teal? Okay, next we have Environmental Management Policy Committee. That would be Kathy Luther.
Yes, the Environmental Management Policy Committee, we don't have any action items. We did meet on the 10th to join most of the other committees in starting to talk about implementation of the 2050 plan. You recall we have this pathway to 2050 or critical path, and so the staff has been working, and now we're bringing the committees how we're going to, what do we need to do to achieve those, what are the tools we need in the toolbox. So that's what our committee did last month. On February 7th, we will be reviewing applications that were submitted for federal highway dollars for congestion mitigation, air quality, and environmental, like stormwater projects, and scoring those. So anyone who's interested in that should join us on February 7th.
7th?
Yes.
Okay, February 7th. Okay. Thank you, Kathy. Next we have Jim Kahn, Technical Planning Committee. Has a report for us.
Certainly. I'd be glad to do that.
Thank you.
The Technical Planning Committee met on Tuesday, January the 8th. Staff presented on the first round of funding for the Next Level Trails program as administered by the Department of Natural Resources. Applications are due to the DNR by February the 15th. Please contact Mitch Barloga for further information. The committee also heard a presentation from INDOT on their Community Crossings program for municipal road and bridge repairs. Applications are due by February the 1st and are available online. Please contact Mary Blancett at INDOT's LaPorte District Office if you have any questions. There are 4 actions for consideration today. The first action is on Resolution 1902, Amendment 6 to the 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan Update. Charles Bradsky will first provide a summary of the 30-day comment period for the amendment, then explain the action. The comment report starts on page 26 of your packet, followed by the resolution. Charles?
You've got us for a loss of words because I don't think this is my area.
Well, I regret that.
I could be wrong. There's been a chance I've been wrong before because I'm married.
That was indicated to me as you were the one that was going to present that, so I apologize if I put you in an awkward position. Can you suggest someone who would do the report that would be more familiar with it?
I'll take a stab, why not?
Thank you, Mitch.
My apologies if there's been any, and my apologies to you, Charles, as well. We'll figure it out later on. Okay, so on page 26, we had a public comment report, amendment number 6 of the 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan update. Basically, it is, and if you want to take a look at the details, and we had no public comment for that matter, as you can tell here. And so that's the report. And then moving on to the resolution itself, resolution 19-02, it starts on page 27 of your packet. And then the actual companion update, amendment number 6 to it, a series of numbers that were associated with this regarding safety targets that have been updated because of obviously the time between the update companion, which was a few years ago, actually approved by this body back in 2015. We of course have a new plan coming out, and we're hoping to have that approved by May of this year. But these numbers are simply numbers that have updated from the companion itself, and to bring it up to date and getting us all ready and prepared for our 2050 plan. I'll take any questions if there are any that be answered.
There being no questions, the Technical Planning Committee recommends the adoption of Resolution 1902.
So moved. Second.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
The second action is on Resolution 1903, Amendment number 1 to the 2019 Unified Planning Work Program. I say this with reservation. Kathy Luther?
Yes. So this
Will first provide a summary of the 30-day comment period for the amendment, then explain the action. The comment report starts on page 32 of your packet. Please, ready, Kathy, go ahead.
I believe there were no public comments to the UPWP amendment. There was one public comment pertaining to general land use planning issues, and the staff will contact the commenter to address those concerns. So that was not related to the work program. I think the commenter just realized we exist and wanted to get engaged in planning. We received also technical comments from Federal Highway Administration. That part of the amendment we initially public commented was really more of an administration modification, and that primarily this amendment is actually adding money to the UPWP that we didn't have available to us at the time it was approved. And we had proposed to put the money in one place, which would make NDOT's work much simpler. And Federal Highway said, no, we couldn't do that. We had to put it in the other place that would make NDOT's work harder. So that was the technical comment we received. So the amendment talks about one element 600, and the actual, in the public comment release, it was 18,600, and now it's at 18,800. So that was the change between the public comment report and the amendment. The amendment is to add money from fiscal year 2019 that had not yet been deemed eligible at the time of the UPWP to the UPWP, so that we can actually add the CMAQ money, which we took out of the budget, back into the budget.
Very good. Technical Planning Committee recommends adoption of Resolution 1903. So moved.
Second.
With apologies to the deputy commissioner, because apparently we're gonna make NDOT's work harder. Sorry about that.
Any questions, discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
Kathy.
The third action is on resolution 1904, amendment 19 to the FY 2018-2021 Transportation Improvement Program. Charles, is this one yours? Charles Bradsky will first provide a summary of the 30-day comment period for the amendment, then explain the action. The comment report starts on page 46 of your packet, followed by the resolution.
This comment is for the amendment to the resolution 1904 for the air quality? Okay, for the air quality. And there were no comments that were given for the public comment period. Moving on to resolution 1904, this is the resolution to modify the air quality for the tip. And we are asking that the commission amend the 2018-2021 Transportation Improvement Program by adopting the commission adopted safety, pavement conditions, bridge conditions, safety performance, freight congestion, air quality performance measures targets, as shown on the attachment, which follows on page 49 through 51.
The Technical Planning Committee recommends the adoption of resolution 1904.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Over here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any further questions, discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Charles.
The next action is on resolution 1905, amendment number 18 to the FY 2018-2021 Transportation Improvement Program. Charles will provide a summary of the 30-day comment period for the amendment and then explain the action. The comment report starts on page 52 of your packet, followed by the resolution.
Finally, something that I was supposed to speak about. Public comment report on amendment number 18. We only had one comment. We believe it did not concern the actual tip itself, but we addressed it as it might have been, to err on the side of safety than to disregard any public comment. And our response is shown on page 52. We also had one technical comment from the ICG, and that's on page 53. Resolution 1905, amendment number 18, is to amend the TIP as it is, to add various local programs or change some phases of some projects that are going on within our region.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes.
On page 57 here, Lake County, it says Lake County Bridge number 4817th Avenue over West Street.
Yes.
Could you explain that to me? I know 117th had a bridge go out, and is this something new?
This is, I do not believe this is that bridge. Lake County had applied for state funds for this project, and they received state funds for this project. And this bridge is still in operation. I rode over it a couple weeks ago on my bike when it was so nice in this area, not unlike this weekend or past weekend. But they're looking to, replace this bridge in 2023, fiscal year 2023. So my guess is that's probably calendar year 2023 being as a bridge replacement.
Any other questions for Charles? The Technical Planning Committee recommends and appreciates the work and flexibility of Charles. We do recommend the adoption of Resolution 1905.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Second.
Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, the next meeting of the Technical Planning Committee will be Tuesday, February the 12th, 2019 at 10 a.m. at NIRPC. Concludes the report of the Technical Planning Committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Hunt. Next item is INDA. Mr. Rick Powers, you have a report for us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll go over some things that we actually brushed over briefly, I think, in most tracks, which, again, in opening the meeting with rail and some of the things, we actually had an announcement for a local track awards in Gary, where, sorry, Mayor Tom, just for listening.
Can you speak up?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
I hope you can hear me. Anyway, there were, good news is, this is, although not a perpetual program, I would like to see it be something similar to community crossing, if it could go that way, and again, if the funding is available, it's always a matter of our bank account, and knows that. But, we should feel good in this region with, I think, 121 million in our region, and 5 communities here, between us, Baycott, and Northern Indiana, that region, we did exceptionally well with this. So, and again, I think the way it went, and there was a representative there from the railroad, somewhat endearing himself to the issue, if you will, of that rate crossing. I forget the actual rail companies that can give him a representative. But I think that's part of that issue, is the railroads themselves understanding the issue, and then endearing themselves to partnering with us, similar to what they've done with the tracks. But I felt good about it. It was good to be there. It was good to see the phone checks. It was good to see the #1 crossing in America, I guess, is the sort of danger being addressed via this program. So I felt very good to be sitting there. And I hope, as a result, there be some consciousness working on the assembly to maybe do it again. I don't know. I have not heard that, so don't hold me to that. I'm just saying, that's how community crossings start. And probably is a good segue, that we are in the midst of this second process. And in fact, Lisa Schrader's here, I believe Marcy, you noted, Marcy, all the thanks, presented at your request at the TPC this last iteration as to how to get favorable consideration, because this is a very popular but perpetual program. And we do that every 6 months. So, not to go, I guess, in the quote movies, as John Cougar would tell you, when in the gangs in New York, there was an election taking place, and they had a guy in a barber chair, and they said, give him a drink, shave him, and run him through again. They want to win the election. I would say the same thing with your programs, that you're submitting your projects. If you don't get favorable consideration this time, or you did last time, I think Marcy said it at the committee, submit again, brush it off, see what was wrong, and submit it again. 6 months is not a long time as we deal with transportation knowledge. I'm guessing that's what she said. Lisa actually is here, Lisa Schrader, said she has some more she can offer to you as a board. But that's what I would urge you. Most of all is what I've heard relative just to the populated program. Get your submission in early and ask questions as soon thereafter as possible, so that you have a better chance of getting awarded. And you will probably eventually see favorable consideration. It has just simply become a very popular program, and competition is key, like all transportation. So, again, we usually do quite well in our region in most programs. I find that we are around second most in population in the those types of things. And when you look at transportation spending, we generally run about second to the capital and a population of a million people in spending. So we do well, and I urge you to continue to lean in and be the good stewards that you are. With that, Lisa, did you have anything to offer? I mean, we are about midpoint. I think one February is cut off, right?
Yes, February 1st is the cutoff, but I would like to add a few comments. Just as Rick mentioned, Marcia Blanzett did come to the TPC meeting, and she did share some of this information, and I feel like it would be important to share with this committee as well, so that you can take back. In LaPorte District, we received 261 applications the last round, and we have one person looking through all of these applications. So I think the utmost important point to get out of this is that these are due February 1st, but I would urge you to try to get your applications in at least a week early, which is next Friday. The reason for this is because we do have one person. She does have some help, but she's trying to get through all these applications. If she sees things that stand out to her that may make the application ineligible, she is very good about getting back with you to ask you more questions, provide you the feedback you need to get those corrected and resubmitted. So, but if she doesn't have time to look at those, they're going to be ineligible on their own just through the review process after the deadline, and then corrections can't be made. But I just wanted to share some of the reasons that the applications may have been ineligible the last round, to maybe just help you. First of all, in order to apply in the call, all the 2016 and 2017 those projects have to have been closed out, meaning repayment to NDOT, not just submitted and responded to, but the payment has to be paid to NDOT. That's what the closeout means. The estimates that come in on the applications, they cannot include contingencies. They cannot be rounded up, and they must be detailed as far as what the work is what the construction work is. The requests have to be 75-25 or 50-50, nothing more than that. And the asset management approval from LTAP must be the approval from LTAP must be fiscal year 19, meaning July 1st of 18 or later. So those are some of the major items that stood out to Marcia that I thought would be interesting to this committee just to share. Marcia did a good job of responding to all of the communities to explain their eligibility, and just in an effort to improve this round of submissions. So, but again, if you have any questions, please give Marcia a call. She is very helpful in this process. So.
Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate you stepping in. Also with us today is John Kruger, our construction director. So, of course, he shows up and smelling the barrels around. We've had some major construction spending in the region. We've got 65 open. A lot of barrels are up through the winter. Some projects are ongoing. In fact, I understand there may be some single lane closures on the 65 project throughout the winter. It could be day closures, so nothing should impact us that badly. But he is in the office, and there's always Matt Dyson here, so we are well attended to the weather here with great extent. Last, I would say, all over northern Indiana on the tip of this lake, and we know where this weekend is predicted to be treacherous. So be careful. For those of you who fight snow, you know what I mean. Fight well, fight hard, fight long. It's supposed to start tomorrow night and I think through Saturday. So just be aware that this is nothing compared to what we're going to see over the next 48 hours. Probably, I think up to 6-7 inches. It's a little south of us, they've even gone as far as 11, 12 in some models. So just be aware and be safe. That's all I have.
Well, thank you very much. Yes.
I'd just like to, say thanks to Rachel on the community crossing grants, because Lowell, we've received $2 million over the 3 years that it's been going. So the smaller communities are really benefiting from them.
Great program.
One thing that I wanted to talk about that, it's my understanding if you haven't closed out one of your community cross grants, you can apply until you get it completely closed out, and there are 2 periods, this year that you can apply.
Correct. We are in, and then June will start the next research?
Yes.
June.
Okay.
There's 6-month intervals. So
But you have to have the ones you've received closed out.
that is correct.
Chairman, Madam Chairman, I'd just like to give a word of thanks to NDOT and Matt in particular for addressing an extremely dangerous situation very promptly. That was the intersection of Indiana 49 and Indian Boundary Road in Chesterton, a site of many, many collisions, accidents, rear ends, all kinds of things. And the warning lights were out over the hill coming from 94 heading south, and that was addressed promptly and correctly, and it has made a difference in our statistics of accidents. So the people know when they head south, there's a dangerous intersection again. So we certainly appreciate the prompt action there. Save countless expenses and work for our police department, and I'm sure some lives in the meantime, the most important. So thank you very much.
And also on the wires, are wires still being taken down? Because I think a school had wires taken down in their community, and they shut the school down because of copper removed. Are we still experiencing that?
Again, this is like going to be a Beetlejuice thing. You said it, it'll happen. I have not heard of recent theft of copper in our lighting areas, but again, we're still recovering some of the thefts that have taken place. We hope, again, that has been detailed and will be fought off. I think it's dangerous, so we look at many alternatives and none of which were cost effective, but we address them as they come.
We had a rash attack going on in Hammond, and through the Hammond license plate reader system and working with the federal government, they literally watched a crew, it was a professional crew, working in Calumet City, meaning they were tearing out lighting and copper in Calumet City, and then they were being watched by the feds the whole time. And as soon as they drove into Hammond, across the state line, the feds got them. And it's a great system. The feds and the local police department are working together, and since that's happened, we haven't had any. I think they were professional, and I think they're around local communities. They knew exactly what they were doing. The feds and the HPD knew exactly what they were looking for, and they got them. So, and since then, that happened over a couple months ago. We haven't had any theft since then. So hopefully that's the crew that is working.
Anybody else have a comment or question for us, Mr. Collins? Okay. Next is Legislative Committee. Mary Thomas is not here, so Michael, you're on that committee? Michael?
Mike, I don't know if you want to say something about the draft. Well, the legislative committee hasn't met since you drafted the possible change to NIRPC statute. I don't know if you want to mention that or maybe wait till the legislative.
I will happily speak on, and Madam Chair, I'm actually putting my bid in to be reappointed to the legislative committee, if that would be okay. But carrying over, I prepared a draft after our meeting last year. Then Chair Mary Tanis had indicated that she was open to some comments, and I indicated, as I've indicated for a long time, NIRPC's enabling statute was rewritten basically in 2003. And at that time, it reestablished the funding formula, which is essentially a population-based appropriation that the 3 counties are compelled to honor. And it hasn't been changed since then, and we've had an inflation rate since then. So I actually had said, one of the things that I was concerned about was twofold. One is that as you can see, it's a very small amount. It's like $540,000 or $580,000 out of a $3 million budget that the 3 counties contribute, either of property taxes. What I proposed is that we do a one-time adjustment that would take into account inflation, and that there would be a tracker allowed for inflation adjustments in the future, and also to authorize in the law, which I think is kind of in there now, that it could be used from any source. It wouldn't mandate that the counties would have to use property tax levy, that they could use another income tax source if they chose to, which would help for circuit breaker impacts. Less than LaPorte, I don't think they're having any really, but we in Lake County are. Maybe Porter County's not having any either. So that was the proposal, and then I did circulate it back, the draft, for the committee to look at, and now we're reconstituting. So my hope is that the legislative committee will take that up. We're kind of far along in the legislative session, so I'm not sure it could be amended in, but it certainly could be discussed, and we could contact our legislators in the hopes that they could take it up perhaps in the short session. In any event, the last thing about that is, we also, when they reconstituted in 2003, they added economic development as the mission, and we also are one of the sole metropolitan planning organizations that has a council of governments, but there's no funding mechanism that was added to that. And so my hope was that part of the consideration for this increase would take into account that we needed to have some sort of vehicle that would take into account the added mission status that was conferred on us by state law.
Thank you. All right. Any other business? Mr. Carney.
My town council president, John Foreman, last night asked me to ask our NIRPC people at 141st and US 41. It's has Hanover Middle School that people are heading west, and they're backing up all the way almost to the railroad tracks because they can't get across 41 to head north, and then some need to go south. He asked me, could the county provide money? And I said, well, let me talk to NIRPC. Can we have a traffic study done in that area? And what is the source of funds to maybe get something down there? Our town engineer, Don Oliphant, said he thought that might be more justification for a stoplight there than farther north.
Let me connect you with NIRPC staff, and we'll take a closer look at that intersection and see what might be warranted and give you some direction on where you might be able to find some fun. We'll figure it out.
All right, thank you.
All right. Do we have any announcements?
All right. 16 plus, which is 16 smaller cities in town plus East Chicago, Gary, and Hammond. On Friday, January 25th, 2019, in the Schererville Town Hall, we will be hearing from Tim Brown, the Executive Director of the Lake County Community Economic Development Department, regarding the Community Development Block Grant Funds. He will tell us how we're to apply for them and learn how the community can take advantage of the fund sources and the rules that need to be followed when applying for these funds. So I would urge all my Lake County colleagues to attend that meeting on January 25th at the Schererville Town Hall, where Tim Brown explained to us what we need to be doing.
I want to make a comment, and as you know, there's not many opportunities that we as officials representing Northwest Indiana are able to get together in large numbers like we are here at NIRPC. We all work very, very hard to make our communities and our fellow communities a great place to live, to work, and to visit. I was listening, and first I want to be very, very careful here to understand that in no way, shape, or form does this board enter into politics. But I was listening to a mayor's forum a few days ago. It was the Chicago Mayor's Forum. There was a comment made by Gary Chico, who has been involved in leadership in the city of Chicago previously, there was a comment dealing with basically criminal justice, in which the comment basically alluded to, and I'm not paraphrasing, I'm going to paraphrase, it's not exact, but basically saying that he would consider filing legal a lawsuit against Indiana and against Wisconsin, and at one point even targeted Cabela's in the city of Hammond as being one of the major reasons for violent crime in the city of Chicago. Now, I consider Chicago to be a very important neighbor to Northwest Indiana. But to make comments like that towards basically Indiana, and when he said Indiana, that might as well include all of us in this room, that we contribute to the crime, the violent crime in the city of Chicago. I think all of us in this room probably have had crimes committed by people from the city of Chicago. We live closely, and that is going to happen. Mayor McDermott has taken some very, very aggressive efforts to combat crime in his city with his camera systems and other things. And through that, he has been able to demonstrate that there have been crimes committed by people from Chicago going back across the state line. But he's not taken the time to call out the city of Chicago or anything even close to that. We don't have a wall between Illinois and Indiana. We work together as communities. I found that comment to be very offensive. We all work hard. I came from a criminal justice background. And I can tell you, and I'm sure Councilman Hardaway can agree with me, in Hobart and Maryville with our concentration of retail areas, we have a lot of times crimes committed by people who live in Illinois, and they've come across the state line. But you know what? We don't make an issue of that. We just deal with it, and we all learn to get along and work together. And so I just, I thought it was important that this type of comments, there is no place for it, even in a mayor's forum. Although he's not the mayor of Chicago and is not speaking on behalf of Chicago, but those types of comments, there's no place for. And again, I don't want to get on a bandwagon here, but I just felt that this was totally uncalled for. And this was on one of the primary Chicago networks that covered this issue. So, Mayor McDermott, on behalf of the city of Hobart, we stand in support of your retail business and what you've done to create a safe environment.
You're here.
Madam Chair?
Appreciate your comment.
Madam Chair? For the record, the guys that we caught that were still in the copper from the lights were from Illinois.
Madam Chair, I think that the mayor is 100% on, and it isn't just Lake County that has this problem. Porter County has it too. And it's typical of the type of divisiveness that we don't need in politics that is running rampant. And I, for one, stand in support of your comment.
Any other?
Well, speaking of things that flow across state lines, but in a more positive way, I just wanted to follow up Mayor Joe and congratulate. I had the opportunity to be at one of the opening events for the Mascot Museum. He's got his shirt on right there, and no offense intended to any of the other mayors in this room, but I think Mayor Joe was the most colorfully dressed the entire region. So congratulations. Thanks. Hopefully the applause.
All they need is some teams over on that side.
I don't know that this is part of the legislative committee's responsibility, but everyone that here may not be aware that the Indiana General Assembly is in session. And they can do us a lot of harm and also a lot of good in a very brief period. So I don't know what kind of process we have for getting updates on what's going down there and how it impacts all of us. Of course, things move rapidly down there. And the thing that comes to mind the most is the casino legislation that's there, and many others that have legislation that may have an impact on everyone or most of us around the table. So I don't know if there is a mechanism that there's a formal presentation as to what is happening down there and what is good or bad or indifferent for this area.
Yeah, that's a great word. If I can respond. Most of the communities in here rely on AIM for that information, Accelerating Indiana Municipalities, formerly Indiana Association of Cities and Towns. We have not been able to build up the staff capacity to have somebody to track legislation, but we recognize the need. So we also rely on AIM and the legislative committee. Yeah, and the Northwest Indiana Forum gives great updates to us of what's happening. So we partner with folks to try to stay abreast of that. We have been a little less successful in getting the legislative committee to try to be a little bit more proactive ahead of the game before the session, but we're working on trying to do that from the NIRPC committee. That's a great word, though, and something that I think we need to do a better job of tracking and distributing the information that we get.
Excellent candidate for the legislative.
I was just thinking. Yeah.
And some type of a link so you can access that information, at least through AIM for now.
We can try to maybe find some way to assemble the things that we're receiving from our partners and find some better way, I think, is what the chair is suggesting, that we have on our website where you can stay abreast of that.
So you can easily access
Madam Chair,
in your office.
I think Councilman Brown would be a great chairman. All due seriousness, I was the chairman of the legislative committee for quite a while, and quite frankly, who better than Representative Councilman as a former state rep to lead that committee? I mean, he can school all of us on how it works down there, so why wouldn't Councilman Brown be the new chairman of the legislative committee?
I couldn't do a good job as Representative Soliday.
But I think you'd be a great chairman of that
We
committee.
can add you to that committee?
Yeah.
Okay, what would you do? Okay. Mayor, did you?
I just want to follow up to that. Just this morning, Senator Milton had gotten an opportunity Tuesday at 10 a.m. Indianapolis time. There is going to be a subcommittee hearing in the Senate on some potential amendments to the TIF guidelines. So anybody that is dealing with TIF districts in their community, if there's a way of getting down there to show your support, they're potentially looking to include sidewalks, streets. I'm hoping they'll include some landscape maintenance to the ability to use some TIF funds. We have a lot of beautiful TIF districts that have had infrastructure in place, and after they build it, then you got to find a way to maintain it. And so at 10 a.m. Tuesday in the Senate.